Go. Hello and welcome to the Festival of the Girl podcast. It is myself, Abi, and my fellow co-founder Jen here today, and we just wanted to speak to you a little bit about why we created Festival of the Girl and what we are trying to achieve. So Jen, I thought we could start with you and you could tell us a bit about what it is you do outside of the festival.
Okay, I'll try and give you the short history of my career. Well, I have been a leadership and management trainer and wellbeing trainer and facilitator for my whole career, and I've consistently noticed a difference between particularly confidence levels between men and women in the workplace, no matter what the industry, particularly as they get more senior, and the kinds of conversations I was having with men versus with women about things like resilience and confidence. And it came to a head when I had my first daughter, who is 4 now, and I set up, as a result, a company called Not Just a Princess, which is all about showcasing women doing typically male jobs and to boost the confidence of girls as they grow older, so that this difference that I'd noticed didn't happen. And I was really curious about the psychology of that difference and where it came from. So that's where Not Just a Princess came from. There's more on that, but I won't go into more detail. But that's how we met, isn't it? So we met via the beauty of social media, where you were looking at confidence as well, I think it's fair to say. And that's where we came up with the idea. So how did you contacted me, actually, didn't you, originally?
I
but
did.
then we just clicked over coffee all that
Yes,
time
we
ago.
did. I remember it was beginning of last year. I've been stalking you for a while.
Is it only the beginning of last year? Because I feel like it was longer ago.
I know. But we did find that when we first met, we thought we knew each other already.
It did feel like that,
wasn't it? Yeah.
So
yes.
so what was the motivation behind contacting me? I'm not sure I've ever asked you.
We just went straight into it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I know with the work that I was trying to do, what I'm still trying to do with my company, She Stands, is very much around how girls and women hold their bodies. So through my career, it was very much, although I have a slightly differing background I was in the theatre at a young age. I lived in New York for quite a while working there. And then I came back to the UK and worked in offices for 10 years as a PA. And, but I worked in very male dominated offices, the last one being Manchester United Football Club. And
I actually did not know that until right now.
Yeah, there you go, a little nugget for you. And so I was always seeing, like you said, the difference between men and women and women's confidence. And it was something I always struggled with as well. And when I set up She Stands, it was going back on throughout all the different things I did. I was doing yoga trainings. I trained in Alexander Technique, which is a 3-year full-time training all around the body, posture, how we hold ourselves, our habits. And for me, that really changed how I held myself and therefore my confidence. And like you, I had my first daughter, Margot, who is 3. And that was when I focused the work that I was doing around asking the question, how different would our society look if all girls and women stood tall and owned their space? Because we know we don't. We very much apologise for taking up space in a world that is built for and mostly by men. And I think when I reached out to you at the time on social media, I was looking for what other people were doing to help inspire girls, but it was also this movement towards a more equal society. And then I don't even know why it was I found you, but I found you.
And it felt like we were meant to find each other. It's funny, exactly. Isn't it? It's a similar, although it's different backgrounds, I think it's when you make that connection with your own daughter, or daughters now, but more on that later for both of us. So looking a bit tired. The connection between what you see as an adult, between the difference between men and women, and what messages kids are getting, even from such a really young age. And the key for me with Not Just a Princess was looking at a plate with a fairy princess on for raising my daughter and going, why isn't that a scientist or an astronaut or any number of other careers? And then the more you look into it, the more you see the very accepted but very subtle stereotyping in kids' messaging. And I think while I was doing it with Not Just a Princess, when we started talking about creating an event, something to celebrate girls, that really struck me as important, because I don't remember anything like that growing up.
No. And actually, I think what was nice was after we had our first event last year, that's what a lot of the parents and really the mums said. They said, you know, we wish we'd had something like this when we were younger.
Yeah.
That's when we knew, well, we're definitely on the right path with
Yeah.
what we're doing. So yes, I guess, so with me, it was, I knew, because actually when we first met, it was only an hour over coffee. I don't think it was an hour.
I'm not sure.
We got to this Festival of the Girl at the end of the hour, but at the beginning we talked about workshops, because we both run workshops, and we talked about, oh, what were some workshops that we could create together. I think even for adults was the first thing. But somehow over that hour, we went from that to, well, actually, the passion really is what we can do for our girls and for the girls.
Girls of the future, yeah.
Girls of the future. And then Festival of the Girl came out, and then from there, we sort of went our separate ways. We sort of emailed a bit, did a bit of research just to check there already wasn't a Festival of the Girl.
Yeah. Called up pretty much everyone we knew and said, come help us, I think.
Yeah.
And they said, how? And we said, I don't know, but this is what we want to do.
Please come. And we had an amazing room of people at the start, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that was when, we must say now, we have a third co-founder, the amazing Laura, who couldn't be with us today, but
she'll be on a future one.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I met her when all this was going on. I just happened to meet her again. We were a networking event. We were sat opposite each other in this really loud Weatherspoon type pub. It was really random, and we just sort of clicked straight away. And I mentioned this to her and said, would you like to sort of come along to the first meet and see what happens? And then, you know, the event wouldn't have been what it would have been, what it was, if it weren't for Laura. Hence why
she's an events expert, isn't she? We kind of went, we want to do an event, but we don't know how. And she went, I do. And thank God for that.
And by the end of it, there was 3 of us, heavily pregnant, running the event last October.
Yeah. So now the mothers of 6 girls in total. Amazing. Even more reason to do it. Even more. Yeah. So that's kind of mad.
Because when we were first talking as well, we didn't necessarily know the age range quite yet.
No.
We knew we didn't want to do teens and up, not because they don't need something like this, but because there is already quite a lot out there for them.
Yes.
And it was, okay, so maybe we can make it slightly younger. And that was where we came up with the sort of primary school age.
Well, also, I think there's research, and I won't be able to quote who it's from, but I'm sure you've mentioned it before, Abi. There's the research around when girls shift in their confidence versus boys. I think it's around age 6.
Yes,
what's really in my head. In terms of starting to think that boys are more intelligent or braver, those kinds of things, and girls' confidence takes a hit there. Plus, it's the age pre-social media, isn't it? So, technically, hopefully. Should be in her, So there's a window of opportunity, I think, to influence the girls at that stage, that when they then come to the secondary school with all of that extra level of influence, they've got a hopefully more solid grounding, confidence in being female or identifying as female, and what opportunities that should provide them, and shouldn't be limited based on that gender. And that's really the goal, isn't it?
That's really the goal. And I think, because I think it's key that, and we'll learn more about this in later podcasts with some of the great guests that we've got coming to join us, but it's understanding that the gender stereotypes are affecting girls and boys from the age of 4 years old. So even if we're speaking to them at this age, we're saying that 7 to 11, they've still already been massively impacted by those messages that you've been talking about, which are constant, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's a big battle to fight in many ways, because there's so many of them. Yeah. But we're hoping if we focus on boosting that confidence, helping girls and their parents, I think it's fair to say, and then the adult influences in their lives become more aware of what those stereotypes are, and we can help everyone fight back against them, even if it's in subtle small ways, like not buying a top that says little princess, or it's something derogatory about looks beautiful, something like that, or changing the words of things in books so it's not fireman, it's firefighter, just being really, really conscious of those things, because we do have the power to influence those, and hopefully ultimately society, in a bigger more strategic level. But we'll start with what we can influence, and also make it really fun. I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of from last year. Is how much fun everyone had whilst.
And I think we said that. I think we said that, didn't we? I think we said there were 3 things that we knew what we wanted the girls to get from it, from our point of view, but we didn't want them to feel like, oh, we're doing this day to inspire and educate you. We wanted them to have fun, try something new, and go away feeling good about themselves.
The messages aren't meant to be preach and kind of telling them what to do, but just showing them that the motorbike just going past, that was good. Always the way. I think it's about we're not trying to tell people they're doing anything wrong. We're trying to celebrate the good and expand the options, because so often in mainstream media those options are closed down for girls, even when people don't realize that they're doing it.
And I must say as well, and with our first event, this did happen, but we between us 3 co-founders, we have 6 girls, even though we didn't know we were all going to have girls, but we have now. It is very much focused around everything we're talking about in regards to girls. However, our festivals are open to boys to come, because obviously we want them to be a part of it. But the reason that we're saying Festival of the Girl is that's, if you were to have a festival of the boy, it would look very different. But it doesn't mean that the festivals and everything we create aren't open to boys. And I know that with some of the workshops, our army boot camp we had, the workshop with lightsabers, the boys were loving that just as much as the girls, which is really good to see.
And we had a couple of boys there, I think, didn't we?
We did. One of my nephew was there, one of them.
Brothers and
yes, exactly.
And things of the
So maybe we could talk, I think, very briefly about what we did last year and then what we're doing this year.
So, well, I think the best way, if anyone is new to Festival of the Girl, to look at what we did is definitely to take a look at our video. It's always brings a little tear to my eye because I'm so proud of it. I think it does to all of us. I don't think it's just the hormones. It was awesome. We'd never done it before. We didn't get a great deal of sponsorship. We had a bit, but we were going in all heavily pregnant as well. And I think the main thing is that all the feedback from the girls that went, and their parents and their carers, was just how varied it was and how much fun everyone had. So you mentioned already the army boot camp. We had a lot of representatives of different opportunities that girls could go for. So we had lots of women engineers, architects, army, what else do we have? Mathematicians. We had all sorts of, not just STEM, but all sorts of things that women can do, they are doing, but perhaps we don't always realize they're doing. And it wasn't just them talking at the girls, it wasn't like a conference. Everything was really interactive. So the army had a little assault course, didn't they had to do, and the kids were putting I can't think of the word,
sort of like
camouflage.
Camouflage, makeup.
They were putting that on. There was an experiment where with the engineers, where the girls could build a structure, and it was on a machine that simulated an earthquake, so they had to try and see if they could build one that would simulate that, or withstand, I think it's fair to say. We had architects with virtual reality. We had people drawing the house of the future. We had maths problems, all sorts of it was all fun. It was all, you couldn't tell it was really maths, fun. Could you?
Which is good. And we had quite a few different workshops, but I mean, one that we have to say, aside from the army boot camp that was a real hit, were the lightsabers.
Yes, they were so cool.
Incredible, because their silver sabers are their martial art gurus, and they're wanting to work with younger people because yes, they're working with lightsabers, but it's incredibly grounding. It's great for mindfulness and meditation, but through martial arts. And that was such a hit, wasn't it?
It was awesome. And I have to say, backed up by the latest Star Wars film, Abby, I don't know if you saw
Yes.
it, but which
Yes.
had a female lead finally. It's amazing. But it's also we also had some kind of more traditionally female things as well. I think it's important to mention the Four of Diamonds. We had a girl band there, and whilst they might be, some may look at us thinking, why did you have that? That's kind of what every girl wants, to be a pop star. Well, actually, we want to encourage that too. We're not saying that girls shouldn't want to do the things that are already typical for them. And the girls from Four of Diamonds, weren't they brilliant?
They were so eloquent,
so inspiring.
And I must say, I did not expect that. I don't know what I expected, but I was really blown away by how they spoke to the girls. And there was one very moving moment, wasn't there, that a young girl spoke about how she wanted to be a singer, but that she was getting bullied at school. And their response was so moving.
Yeah.
And really powerful. They were amazing.
It showed, I think, the behind the sheen of Instagram, didn't it? The hard work and the determination and the confidence that they have all had to keep going with when you're trying to make it in the music business. So it was really lovely to see them up close.
It was just, all in all, a really fun day. We learned a lot.
We did.
Things could have maybe gone a bit smoother, but it was the first time, and like you said, it was the three of us, heavily pregnant, and we were just went for it. And now we are really excited to let everyone know that we are doing Festival of the Girl 2020 online. So again, completely new for us.
Yeah, so we're going to have to learn a few other things, but I think we've got plenty of content already, plenty of people who want to get involved, haven't we? Which is brilliant.
This year is going to be, there's going to be, I think, a more content to share, and it's going to be incredibly exciting. We've already got, we can't say it yet, but some really exciting things confirmed.
Yeah, and the benefit of it being online, whilst of course there are some occasional downsides and lack of cake, that kind of thing, we are, therefore nobody has to come to London this time, so you can come along from your own home. There's going to be, you can, for a lot of it, you'll be able to come along any time, albeit there will be some specialist stuff happening on International Day of the Girl, which is the 11th of October.
That's when it is, by the way. Sunday the 11th of October.
I suddenly panicked. I was saying the wrong
that's
day
it.
there.
That's it.
It's Sunday the 11th. So there'll be lots of content in the run-up as well. And we really want to get girls involved, so that primary school age group, and parents, carers, influencers as well. There will be stuff for you with this podcast. So the podcast is going to be aimed at our adults.
Yes,
mostly. And then we're going to have a YouTube channel, we're going to have all sorts of other things, lots of content, lots of things to get involved with. And if you're listening to this early on and the full schedule's not been released and there's something you really want, drop us a line.
Absolutely.
Can't promise it, but
we are still
we can certainly try
to hearing what people might want to contribute. So yes, that's a really good point. Thanks, Jen. Yeah. Great. I think we could be nearing the end of our first ever podcast.
I hope somebody listens.
Our partners probably will. We'll probably listen.
I'm sure they will.
So, like you said, if you don't know of us already, we are at www.festivalofthegirl.com. Our online event is going to be on Sunday, the 11th of October, but we'll be releasing a lot of really amazing content in the lead up, both for parents and carers and for the girls. So go to our website, follow us on Instagram at Festival of the Girl, and we will keep you updated on everything we're doing.
And hopefully we'll speak to you again very soon.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, thank you.